Hello, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Daphne. I'm with the Fibre Co, and this is our autumn-winter launch party for the season beginning today, autumn-winter 2022-2023. Thank you so much for joining us. We have so many wonderful things to share with you, not only today, but throughout the season. And one of the things I'm really excited to share with you is the answer to some questions that we asked our designers, but one in particular really stands out for me because we got some really fantastic responses. And I'd like to begin by asking you all this question. You're stranded on a desert island. What would your favorite knitting project be? What would you do? You're on a desert island. Maybe you have a situation where you could have had some knitting with you, but think creatively about that. We have a fantastic answer for you to that question today from our guest, who's going to be revealed shortly. And I think you're all going to love that answer. And I think it behooves us all to think about what our answer would be. It's really fun. So thank you for joining us. I'd like to go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen with you now and show you our presentation. Oops, sorry. Here we go. Excellent. All right, here we are, ready to go. So welcome. Here we are, autumn winter 2022-23. I never thought it would arrive, but it has. What I'd like to go through today is on this overview slide. We're going to have an introduction. We're going to tell you a little bit about the Fibre Co in case you don't know some things. And then we're going to jump right into our Almanac series with our featured designer, Erika Knight. And she's the one with that fantastic story about desert island knitting projects, knitting. We're then going to walk you through all the other designs in that collection, and then we're going to tell you about our and make yarn range, which is a new range of yarns for us. There's 3 new yarns, and then we're going to give you a chance to win prizes. Prizes are the surprise that we're going to have for you today. We'll give you a chance to ask questions. It's always best to put those in the Q&A. We can follow those a little bit better than we can in the chat. But this is a party, so let's get it started. And please go ahead and type in the chat where you're from, what you're excited about for your new knitting season. And we'd love to hear from you. So please do join in the chat. And if you have questions as we go along, please post them in the Q&A. But the most important thing is how you can win one of 10 prizes today. There will be 10 lucky winners of coupons of either $50, pounds, or euros, depending on which country you live in, that can be used in our web shop. And at the very end, you're going to be asked to answer one simple question. And that question is, how many of these and make knitting balls are in the presentation? And we will ask you to vote on it on the end. Now, counting starts right now. So this and make knitting ball is your first one. So you've all been given the first one. As we go through the slides, you'll see this ball appear on some slides and not others. So keep track, because this is the way you get to enter your answer. We'll take the correct answers, we'll put them through a randomizer and notify the winners tomorrow via email, the same email address that you registered with. So keep an eye open on that. And all right, you ready? This is the and make ball that you're looking for, but let's get started with the rest of it. We're the Fibre Co. We come from pretty humble beginnings. This is me 20 years ago. It was brown hair back then, not all gray. And we started with a small spinning mill. We were at that time located in Portland, Maine. And this little bunch of fiber on the floor came from going to some shearing days and collecting the fiber and bringing it back to our small mill and washing it. And well, eventually it would go through all the spinning equipment and then to the dye pots. And yeah, it was a lot of work, but it really informed us about what could make a good yarn for knitting. And the vision was to create yarns that myself as a knitter couldn't find on the retail shelves. I've always been someone who likes something a little bit different, not the standard run of the mill, so to speak. And so that was the vision. And that's where we started. Today, we're located in the UK, Northern England in the Lake District, and it's a pretty nice place to be. Now, fiber, as our name would suggest, is the most important thing about what we do. We are the Fibre Co. after all, and our yarns are all made from natural fibers, either plant or mostly animal fibers, but also recently we've started using recycled fibers. And one of those recycled fibers is recycled nylon. So that wouldn't come from a plant or an animal, but we are using recycled fibers now as well. And all of our yarns, though, are designed with one thing in mind, and that is to give the maker a lot of pleasure as they move along using that product, and also end up with a project that they're really proud of. So we're the Fibre Co. This is the place where you can get yarns to make projects that you're truly proud of. But we're not just a yarn business selling yarn. We have always, from the very beginning, seen ourselves as part of a wider community. And that wider community, although we're just a small team of 8 employees, we work with a broad group of people around the world, designers and representatives and agents in different countries. We work with makers and people who post what they make and make beautiful pictures of them. And we want to be a place that welcomes people from all areas. No matter what your background is, this is your home. We've got a yarn for you. And join us on social media. Instagram, we're the Fibre Company spelled out, but on Facebook, we're the Fibre Co. Now this, I mentioned Northern England in the Lake District, and this is an image of places that really are at our doorstep. We see this kind of natural beauty every day, and we're really inspired by a sense of place, not only where we currently live, but I've done a fair bit of traveling around, and most members of the team have as well. So whether it is here in the Lake District or in the hills of Scotland or Africa, where I spent several years in many years ago, so much to be inspired with our beautiful world, and these things end up in our yarns. So this is now what we hope to do, is inspire you with our new collection. So it's called the Almanac Series. This is the Almanac Series II. What is the Almanac Series? We began last year with the Almanac Series, where we focused on one yarn per month and had a new design each month. And the theme was herbalism or medicinal plants. And we asked the designers to submit ideas along the lines of this theme. Now we're into the next year. And the Almanac Series II is all about the heavens, the night sky, and the inspiration that we draw as the nights draw in, come at least in the Northern Hemisphere. And we will focus on the 6 yarns that you see here, beginning on the left, Road to China Light, and coming around into January, where our focus is going to be on our Cumbria yarn. There are 2 designs per month in each of our yarns per month launching. Not all of them exactly in each month, but 12 designs in total. And we're now going to walk you through these. And we get to start with the beautiful design that knitwear designer Erika Knight did for us, called the Zodiac sweater. Erika is a British knitwear and crochet designer. And there she is. I see her smiling face. Welcome, Erika.
So I haven't seen you so long.
Oh, it's so lovely to see you. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate you taking the time to be here.
Wonderful.
I know our audience is excited. We've had more people register for this kickoff event than any of our others. And I'm sure it's about you, because they're probably, well, getting sick of seeing me. So, but you have something really to bring our audience, and it's your background in fine art and the simplicity, or the simple ethos to your designs, and all the books and the years of experience. And can you tell us in your own words, because I find it really fascinating how you came to the hand knitting world and how most of your experience has been in the industrial sector. And that's very different. And a lot of people don't know or understand that. And I love how you think that that has something to show the world of fast fashion. So can we hear from your own words how this knitwear career developed for you?
You saying that, it's I do find it fascinating how we all do have a different background to this, how, you know, hand knitting especially, you know, unites us all, but we all come to it with a very, very different, you know, how we've all appeared there. I'd always knitted, I think. I'd always collected stuff. And, you know, we are very fiber people, as we know, your beautiful company. And I think that started from when I was very little. I would have been even 6 or 7, and trading, and we did sewing in school on a Friday afternoon, and we had this wonderful cardboard box, but we would trade or little bits of fabrics and fibers. It was a touch and a feel. And I think we all have that experience. It's touch and feel, isn't it? And we would trade pieces, little pieces, you know. So I think when I look back, that was a defining moment. You know, of course, I went to, the only thing I ever knew I wanted to go to in life was, you know, was art school. I don't know why. I think I caught the end of art school when there were extraordinary people doing extraordinary things then. And you could bowl into fine, you know, you were painting, you could bowl into fashion, you could go and do some welding, you could do things in fiberglass and bedding stuff. So it was a very much a free fall, but again, it's this touch and feel that, so knitting, I think, I don't know where it came from. I remember, you know, maybe my grandmother took picking it up, and it was a punk days, what can I say, you know, we'd, you know, put some drop stitches attached to something else, some safety pins, ladders, some beautiful mohairs at the time, and we'd put them down the runway to, you know, the strains of craft work, which I always thought was, it's come back to me, you know. And but it was always experimental. We just did things that informed what we did, and that was all good fun. But I think my parents knew, probably long before me, that the world wasn't waiting for another second-rate artist. So, and it's weird, I always think you have to take opportunities where there are. I spent a lot of time in doing textile print, festooning fabric during the New Romantic era. So, you know, I do embrace a youth culture, you know, I do. The next youth culture, I'm on it, you know. And so print and textile had always informed me. But I think too, at art school, especially, they'd say, oh, don't go down that craft route. Oh, you don't want to be going down that craft route. It's very pure. But it has stood me in good stead. I think I've worked in every aspect of the fashion and textile industry. I do find that a little bit different when you have conversations with people. So I had my own business making by things with cottage industry, if you like. So I always say it's like cottage craft, but I've had a commercial life designing for high streets, and also couture, working with you know, designers, and learn a lot of my craft in the bigger sense in Italy, and I've been very privileged in that sense. So what started off with very humble beginnings has yeah, I'm very lucky to have had a career in this wonderful world.
Oh, and we're lucky to have you in our end of it, and we know that, and you've told us how much the use of a yarn, or how much yarn, gathering those scraps of fabric or bits of yarn, and has inspired you in that tactile nature. And I'm thinking back to a story where you and I first met at a trade show. And I think someone knew, it was before we relocated to the UK, and the company was still based in the US. And someone said, oh, you must meet Erika Knight if you're going to the UK. And I think I said something like, oh, I'm looking for my new best friend in the UK. Would you be my new best friend in the knitting world? And then you came to the stand and discovered the Fibre Co yarns for the first time. You did a little bit of fondling of one in particular.
Oh, you know, well, what can I say? I've always been a fancy, and you know that, Daphne, you know. So when you'd even asked me to do something here, it had to be Road to China.
Yeah,
You know?
and last year you had your texture book come out, and we were so thrilled that you wanted yarn support for the coppice design in that, which was stunning, which is the design that you can see here right now. And that book is gorgeous, 20 really lovely designs that celebrate texture. And that was almost more than we could have hoped for, but then we hoped a little bit more and asked you to send in a submission for our autumn winter season that's upon us now. And this is the sketch that we received from you and the swatch, and this is the Zodiac sweater.
Well, she looks a bit miserable. You know, apologies that she does look a bit miserable, but she shouldn't be, because, you know, this yarn, I mean, I've been designing yarns too, like you, forever, for whether it be for a couture company, you know, or to get something into a price point, or for many hand knit brands and what have you. And this yarn is truly my all-time favorite yarn. I mean, what's not to love? It's the ultimate noble fiber, you know, alpaca, silk, cashmere, and camel. I mean, the drape, the beauty of it being, you know, as it feels next to your skin, you know. And you mention, for us, you know, raw fiber enthusiasts, you mention Road to China. Everybody knows Road to China. It's like it's, you know, Coco Chanel, or, you know, Hoover or Beyonce. You know, we know where that is. You know, it's up there. It's the pinnacle. So to me, you know, what we would call in the business, you know, an intimate fiber. There was there was no other. You know, I wanted to put something in our book for that, because it's all about that, and it had to be a design. It's a Japanese cable that works upside down, you know, whichever way you're looking at it, because stitches are like that, aren't you? Whether you work from the top down or the bottom up, you know, some cables and things can look a bit angry or sad, you know, or designs, and that's sort of, but so that was why that was chosen. But for this design here, I just knew I wanted to do something on a sweatshirt that just, with Road to China, just, you know, it's an expensive yarn, but it's ultimate. If you're going to, you know, the ultimate in slow clothes, if you're going to spend your time and your money to make something of beauty, it has to be something that's going to stay with you through your life. So this yarn was perfect for that. The style is based on a sweatshirt. It's something, you know, when we've got our softies on in the day, you know, it's our old friend, it's soft armor, where it will take us to comfortable, relaxed and casual, but you feel confident. And sweaters are like that. You're not too trussed up, but you trust it, and it feels wonderful next to the skin. So it's a very simple neckline, but it's under, well, you're wearing it, Daphne, you know, I mean,
am wearing it, and the neckline is gorgeous, because it's okay, it's summer, but up here in Northern England, it's never really hot. But we are experiencing a little bit of warmth this summer, but I'm, you know, the wide neckline, and I'm really comfortable. And one thing I really love about this sweater, when we heard from you about it, was that the technique that you've used is your favorite technique. And I think those listening would love to hear a little bit about your favorite technique.
Well, I think there's a few favorites in here, not only the favorite yarn, but always making it flattering. You know, one of the big things for me, it annoys a lot of people, but I'm very asymmetrical. One of the things here that defines it is, so it's a basic sweatshirt, but just those little, you know, twists. And I find that very flattering, so that your eye travels, you know, sort of possibly the largest part of it's over the hip or the tummy. So your eye travels. So there's a couple of favorite techniques. One, it's just shifting the cable across by just a little make one. It just shifts the stitches. This is just 3 and 3 ribbon, a little broken stitch. So it's, you know, I think it's a slip one, pearl, you bring the yarn over, you make one, slip one, and then on the next row it's pearl. So it's a very simple repeating pattern. But I like the shaping the hems. So you've got two little, you knit the front bit, you knit the back first, but then you knit the front section of the rib, and then you knit the other section, and it's got a little shaped hem, so it falls away, and that's just a little selvage edge. I suppose from an industrial point of view, having some of those teaks, which we would call fully fashioning techniques, I do bring to the craft things I do. So it's, I would work my increases just inside the edges of that and just do a little 1-on-1 selvage edge. I don't know, it's become instinctive, a bit of a signature, I think, but
I think it is a signature, and I just love it on this. And your asymmetry is, it's always spot on. It's kind of that thing that takes the simplicity of most of your designs and then just explodes them to the next level, because there's just this lovely element of asymmetrical surprise.
People
which
they're very annoyed, Daphne. They come and rearrange my mantelpiece, you know, they don't, you know, you know, those symmetry people.
Those symmetry people, they can go somewhere else. Yeah, this is, we have, oops, I keep hitting the wrong button. Sorry, guys. We have identified this as an intermediate knit, but I think it was just a combination of, because this was a yarn that was going to, you know, that is an expensive yarn. It's our highest, most luxurious in the range. And if someone was going to make the project, we wanted them to feel confident starting it out. But I have said that it could be, and we've talked to our stockists about it, it could be for the adventurous advanced beginner, because really stitch wise, it's not difficult at all. It's really just, there are some things going on, enough to keep you interested. All of the repeats are quite short, and, you know, quite easily memorized, and learning how to put these two front pieces, starting them separately and then joining them and going around. It could,
it's just, and I think that's a key word you're saying, you know, keeps it the interest. Yes. I think, you know, it's like we all of us sort of struggle, oh, there's another sock to do, or there's another sleeve to do, you know, and sometimes great expanse of back, you know, and it can be annoying when you've got a box set, you know, you're into, and you think, oh, I missed that stitch, you know, with that, you know, but so the back is divided, it's got the 2 stitches coming together, but it's stocking stitch, which is 2 rows, and you've got the change in the broken rib. And on the front, you know, it's just a very simple 8-stitch cable. I like these flattened cables, and it's really just keeps your interest. The increases, it's just a technique for hiding the increases, not putting them on the edge of the garment, but it burying them on the inside.
yes.
And the little make one just makes that little subtle traveling cable. So your eye again will go to the flattering part and will take your eye up to the neck. And likewise, picking up the stitches, as we all do from a top down, although this is knitted from in flat pieces, I like to join the arms at the sleeves and then knit down, but I've deliberately kept a sort of bracelet length sleeve to this. It's more flattering. You know, they've always said to me, Erika, you're never knowingly under accessorized. So it gives you opportunity with bracelets and rings and this sort of vent, just to give it a bit of interest. And
yeah, I love these vents. it gives you that room that you need to move arms without having to push up the sleeves. All you have to do is reach, and it's just so easy to wear. It's so luxurious on the next to the
It's
skin.
beautiful yarn, and you don't want you're not going to be doing any washing up in this or anything. I mean, clearly, this is just for taking you for whatever you want to be doing in your life. But
Right.
and I always, if I'm doing a drop shoulder, will always pick, although it's got a short row shape shoulder, I will always pick up and put a 3-needle cast off on the outside as a decorative feature. I just feel it just gives a bit of definition, and you can see what you're doing. So,
Yeah, and it feels like it has that definition and some structure, and
yeah,
and where it belongs. It's like not here, it's here. And oh, Erika, you've just really done us so proud. So you've done Road to China proud, and
well, it's there. It lightens up my life, literally. Road to China.
wonderful. Yeah, well, you mentioned repetitive things, and you have a little story about some repetitive things, and we posed a question to you, and we said, what's your desert island knitting project, and what could you knit again and again and still enjoy? And we used the word knit, and you had an interesting answer.
Well, I think this was a sum of two parts, really, because if I think we all would, where you said probably at the beginning, the answer is a lot in the question. I think most of us would have had knitting with us wherever we're marooned, if it's waiting anywhere or on an island, we would have knitting probably with us. I think
you could have gotten separated from your knitting, because
you could have.
It was, if you were Amelia Earhart and you survived the plane going down and you had to swim to shore, you probably didn't bring your knitting.
Well, for me, like you, Daphne, the landscape always inspires me. A tutor at art school always said it always comes back to the landscape. For me, it always informs my choice of things. The environment is just always informs me. So if I was marooned on a desert island, I would turn to crochet. The dark side to some. And I think I could very easily shape some driftwood or branch to be a sort of hook. And I would be gathering and foraging bits of liana or twigs and twines and debris and flotsam for making, I love creating yarn. I love making yarn, a continuous thread. It's so primeval, 2 sticks or 1 stick and continuous thread. You can construct that into a net. You can survive by fishing or making a trap for animal or bird. You can clothe yourself. And then that's where the other side of the brain kicks in, where you then find stones with holes or beads and you start to embellish or adorn. So I would have a whale of a time waiting for that whale to come. Just inventing. And I live literally looking at the sea now, and every day that landscape changes and informs my mood, what I make. But I don't like to repeat things. So even if I've got something on the needles, there are signature things. I come back to symmetry and I come back to seams. I love inside out things. I don't know why, maybe it's to do with texture. When I look back at 30, 40 years of knitting, 50 years of knitting, there are things that you say, oh, that's returned again, but no, bring it on. The solitude would be quite nice. We're quite used to solitude
wouldn't
now.
it just? Yeah.
You got Zoom with everybody would be fabulous, but know.
You know how they do these like group exercises. I don't know if you've ever been in any of these things where they go, okay, you're going to be stranded on a desert island, and who would you take and why? And then it's depending on who you say you would take with you, or want to be on this island with you defines whether or not you understand how to build a business or do something great or not. Anyway, I've been part of these questions before, and I just realized that I would want to be on that desert island with you, Erika, and we would have so much fun creating yarns out of nature, like real nature. I mean, okay, we do it with natural things now, but when you were talking about the vines and the this and the that, and how the simplicity of the crochet hook, because it's really just one needle that you need.
Yeah,
really made me think I want to be with Erika.
I would love you to be there. And, you know, and I think too, for me, knitting, sometimes it's frustrating that, well, it is three-dimensional. You know, I always think if I'm teaching with people to remember that it's three-dimensional, and there's a back and a front and sleeves, and we move in it, and, you know, the way things work. So to create shelters and spaces and would be really interesting, but using crochet. And I've started doing a bit of freeform crochet at the moment. It's a bit like scribbling. And I love that, where, you know, you get more surface to your fabric. So yeah, I'm enjoying that. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do somewhere.
Let's go get lost on a desert island, but have a backup plan to be rescued. Oh, Erika, I think that's come to the end of our time with you, and I thank you so much for being here and sharing. I did want to check the Q&A just in case there's a special question for you. I don't see one here, but if anyone does, I'll just give it a second or two to let them ask you a direct question. See if anything comes in. Nothing. Well, if you're like me, your questions are all probably like, you know, how can I get a little piece of Erika? Well, you'll see her everywhere out there in books and designs, and look up her catalog of designs if you are wanting something other than this gorgeous Zodiac sweater. She has so many things out there. I strongly recommend looking at her texture book as well. And she is Knightcraft on social media. And also, I wanted to say that she and her daughter Bella started a podcast. They have 6 fantastic episodes, and they just told me they had 6 more in the works. So, and that's the Knightcraft podcast, right? Is that the So there'll be some more coming out, and I was really delighted to hear that, because there haven't been any for the last few months, but they're really good. They're topics of strong interest to all of us. You can listen to their beautiful voices and the people that they talk to as you knit, and you'll learn and be inspired. So look out for the, or go, if you haven't heard the first 6 podcasts, you definitely want to go do that. You can be ready for the next 6 as they come out. So thank you, Erika. We're just so grateful that you came today and joined our little group here, and of course, designed the Zodiac for us.
Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure. Absolutely.
Thank you. We'll see you later.
Take care. Bye-bye. Enjoy.
Bye. All righty. Wow. I hope you've all been inspired by Erika and her discussion, and just another quick look here at the Zodiac sweater. I am wearing it. I can tell you, it just feels delightful. It launches today. So this is how we're kicking off our season, with this beautiful garment. And it uses between 9 and 16 hanks of Rota China Light. It is an investment piece, but it is one that you will just love. Rota China, as Erika talked about, it's just a luxurious, super soft yarn. The color palette is very jewel toned. So this is one of the muted tones we call moonstone, but there are some other tones that are pastels, as well as deep, dark, saturated jewel tones as well. So check out Rota China Light. Next week, we launch the second piece in the collection. We're still in the month of August, so it's another Rota China Light design, and it's called the Milky Way cowl, which is this cone-shaped cowl using 4 colors, a background color, and then 3 contrasting colors that are in a slip stitch pattern and in gradient. And when we launch this, we'll be showing you some photographs of other colorways that you might be interested in doing it. There are 5 hanks used in total. And this is designed by be Naretto, and the launch is next week, exactly 1 week from today. The next design takes us into the next month. The month of September is our month for Aaronmore Light, and this is the Supernova Cardigan. It's by Imke von Nathusius. This launches on the 1st of September. It uses between 4 and 7 hanks of our Aaronmore Light yarn, which is it's an authentic Donegal tweed spun in County Donegal, Ireland. It's a little bit different than most Donegal tweeds in that it's made with luxury fibers. So the finest merino wool blended with some cashmere and silk, which means that you can wear this yarn next to your skin and yet still have the beautiful tweedy effect that you see in most Donegal tweeds. The second Aaronmore Light design for September is called the Moon Phases Shawl, designed by Adela Dutra. And this is in 5 colors of Aaronmore Light. And we have some colorways to present when this launches that are both gradients as well as contrasting and complementary colors. So there's all kinds of things you can do with the Aaronmore Light palette for the Moon Phases Shawl. Then we go to October, and this is the yarn of the month for Lore. The Leonida Sweater, designed by Jill Thompson Beach in 2 colors of Lore, uses between 4 and 7 hanks. These are 100-gram hanks. It has this lovely bold pattern that meant to represent a meteor shower. And Leonida, the name itself, is the name of a meteor. And one of the things we asked the designers to do is be inspired by the night sky, and all the astronomical influences that came out of their design submissions were really fun to see. This is one that is just right on point. You can see exactly where she was coming from. Lore is a woolen spun yarn as opposed to a worsted spun yarn. If you know what those two differences are, woolen spun yarns are generally more lofty and airy. And this is 100% lamb's wool. It's a British lamb's wool from the Romney sheep breed. And this sweater is really a delightful sweater to wear, any sweater in Lore, because it's very warm but lightweight. And that is going to be launching at the beginning of October. Then the next week in October, we have a hat, the Orbital hat, designed by Maren Odenthal. And this is great because it's just a 1-hank project, but it has this lovely kind of spiraling orbital design. You can wear the hat with the rib down like it is here. We also have some images of the hat worn with the rim back, and we'll show those to you when it launches. And then we move to the next design, which is the Perseid sweater designed by Lotta Lothgren. Lotta is known to a lot of people on social media as Elk Market Yarn. She also is a yarn shop owner, and she's a fantastic designer. Lotta has designed this in our Cumbria worsted weight yarn. And although our yarn of the month for Cumbria worsted weight is not until January, we're bringing this out early in October because we think it's quite Christmassy, and maybe some people will be inspired to choose the Perseid sweater for their Christmas knitting or their Christmas sweater. We hope so. Cumbria fingering is the yarn of the month for November, and we have 2 designs. This top-down knit of the Starburst sweater, designed by Julie Mackesy, and it will be coming out on the 3rd of November. The next design in the collection is the Airglow shawl by Monica Christine Mayer. And this shawl uses 5 hanks of Cumbria fingering. That means it's quite a meaty shawl. It's very big. We don't have a photograph here, but we do have some with the model holding out the shawl so you can see just how big it is. But it's lightweight in that it's a fingering weight yarn as opposed to the Cumbria worsted weight yarn. Further along, that will be the next week in November. And then in time for the Christmas knitting season on the 1st of December, we have in our Tundra yarn, which is a bulky weight yarn, a 3-piece design by Anna Daku called the Sagittarius set. And then our next tundra design is called the Capricorn Cowl, also releasing in December. And this has been designed by Luciana Echechori, who's also another stockist of ours in, I believe it's Atlanta, Georgia. And she was inspired to use this slip stitch design of 2 colors of tundra. We love the design so much that we decided to have a knit along for this design. And that knit along is going to be held in January. So we did this last year with a tundra design, and we had a lot of knitters choose one of these designs either for themselves as their own personal gifting to then hunker down and knit with in January on their own and join the cowl, or they gifted it. So we think it's a great timing for a project like that. And then lastly is the Quasar sweater, which is by Dario Tubiana. Dario is an Italian designer who is, if any of you see the Knitter magazine, this month has an 8-page pullout on Dario and his work. He does a lot of interesting work. He does a lot of color work design, and he also does some that has embroidery on top of his knitting. This one does not, but it is a 2-color knit project. And he has proposed doing embroidery on top of this, but we didn't go with that option of it. But this is a lovely design in the worsted weight of our Cumbria, and this will release in January on the 12th. So to summarize, this is the the Almanac Series design. These 12 designs coming out periodically throughout the season. So hopefully if you're on our mailing list, you will see these and get announcements about when they're coming and more sneak previews about all the designs. We couldn't really stop at these 12. We had to do one more because we had it. And this design here, the CM sweater, is just what we're calling a single release sweater. It's in our Erin Moore light yarn, and it'll come out later in September. This is a gradient that is actually used by holding 2 strands of Erin Moore light together to get a more blended effect. And as with the Moon Phases shawl, we'll be showing you some different colorways that you can use to get some interesting effects with color. And that is the Almanac series plus our single release. Next, to take you to what's really, really new for us for the season, which is our and Make range. This is kind of a sub-brand of the Fibre Co. 3 new yarns. And what is it about? Well, we say and make, 1 stitch at a time. I just wanted to mention that here is a yarn ball if you're counting to try and win, right here. Don't count this logo here. That doesn't count on any slide, but it's only these balls. So from here on out, when you see the and make logo, don't count those, just count the and make balls. Hint, hint. And make is an ode to making. For us, we looked at the fact that the Fibre Co. yarns often were not accessible to all abilities or price ranges. Oftentimes newer, less experienced knitters are less likely to use luxury yarns. So we had on the books for some time been thinking about bringing out a range, still using natural fibers and being concerned about their origin, but we wanted to do it such that it could be at a more entry-level price range, not cheap, but accessible. And also, when the pandemic hit, we realized, well, now is the time, because there have been so many new knitters. Here in the UK alone, the Knitting Association has estimated that there's 1 million more new knitters or returning knitters to the craft. That's amazing. That's just knitting. That's not crochet. So when we heard that, we said, okay, we're right on point. We have our sub-brand in the work. Let's get on it. So that's what we came up with. We worked with our favorite mill in Peru to help us create 3 weights of yarn, a super bulky, an Aran weight, and a DK weight. Now, we also wanted to introduce an entry-level design collection, and we'll be going through this in a moment, but we have 3 designs that are launching, and they've all been written for all 3 yarn weights. The first yarn that you see here is Almanac Super Bulky, and we have created a natural ecru color as well as a natural brown gray color. And then on top of both of these, the colors, the 20 colors you see underneath, some of them have been dyed on the cream shade and some of them have been dyed on the brown shade. So to get more muted shades, we would dye on the brown gray shade, but to get the more bright and clear shades like this yellow or mint green or sky blue, we would dye those on the cream. Now, this is a super bulky and it's made with 100% Highland wool from Peru. This is not the Highlands of Scotland, but it's Highland wool from Peru. And you can see here, there's a range of stitches and needle sizes that you could use. And each ball of wool is 100 grams. Now, the next one is Almanac Aran. So the natural color changes a little bit because the blend has changed. We're using the Highland wool, but we're also using alpaca in the blend here. And 20 colors, they vary just a little bit from the super bulky, but not by much. Generally the same concept. We're over dyeing on both the cream and the gray shade. And the third blend in the range is called Almanac DK. And we've added some linen because this is what the fiber code does, is we blend fibers. And wasn't enough for us to just stay with Highland wool. When we got down to the Aran weight, we had to add alpaca. When we got down to the DK weight, we had to add linen. So it's a mixture of 55% Highland wool, 35% alpaca. It gives it a lovely soft hand, and 10% linen gives it some really interesting crispness that allows for some good stitch definition and interesting color effects as well. You can see this color palette probably varies a little bit more than the others, and that's primarily because of the linen and the opportunities that it gives us. What do those designs look like in the flesh? Well, on the hottest day of the year, 2 weeks ago, we had our photo shoot. These lovely models stood in 98 degrees Fahrenheit, about 32 degrees Celsius weather with woolly sweaters on and scarves and hats. And oh, goodness me, they were real troopers and we thank them so much for it. But you can see here our first design called the Gridland scarf. And they didn't need a scarf on that day, but they wore it and wore it beautifully. In the center is the super bulky. On the left is the Aran weight. And on the right is the DK weight. Now, one thing we've done is we've knit 6 samples in each of the designs, 1 for each weight. One of them has been knit in a solid shade, like the 2 on the right, and the one on the left was knit in a color block pattern. So you'll soon be seeing all of these different color blocking patterns from us. The Pearls of Wisdom sweater, you can see here the solid colors. The middle one is the Aran weight. The one on the right is the super bulky, and the one on the left is the DK. And you can see what that linen does to the one on the left. If some of you are familiar with our Meadow yarn, Meadow has linen in the blend mixed with some baby llama and merino and silk. And several customers have asked us over the time to bring out a heavier weight version of that. And this would be our heavier weight version, but it's much more affordable than our Meadow yarn is. And lastly, we have the warm and easy hat. Now, I know a lot of you are probably beyond knitting your first hat, but we wanted these 3 patterns to be about maybe knitting your first interesting scarf, non-garter stitch scarf, your first top-down yoke sweater, and maybe your first hat in the round. And to make them a little bit exciting, we did some fun pom-poms. But you might know one of those million new knitters in the UK, or you might have a friend that you've always been trying to get involved in knitting because you hang out and enjoy their company so much doing other things. Let's do it with knitting as well. And all of these patterns are designed for that, but the hat is probably the most accessible first project in the collection. And to make it easy, we're having a warm and easy hat knit along. This will come out in November. Although the Almanac yarns and the designs will launch on the 15th of September, we'll have the knit along and they will actually be classes taught by the designer, who is Kate Atherley. Kate designed the hat, the warm and easy hat for us. And if some of you more experienced knitters joined us in June, we had a series of 4 classes with Kate for sock knitting. We had well over 1,000 people sign up to that sock knitting class, and the feedback was terrific. Kate is an absolute gem of a teacher, and she's going to do it again, but on a more basic level and for hat knitting. So if you have those friends, you know any of those people that are new to knitting and they want to learn to knit in the round and make their first hat, or you have a young one in your family that you want to introduce, you want to be their first knitting story 30 years from now, please do get them involved in our warm and easy hat knit along. The classes are free. We'll be announcing them. Probably most likely we'll get the details out in late September, early October. Once the Make range launches mid-September, you'll start to see more and more information about that. One thing I wanted to say about the patterns themselves is we decided to write these patterns a little bit different. So there's not as much jargon, they're more user-friendly and language that maybe an absolute beginner would find welcoming. And there are a lot of illustrations and tutorials. A lot of the tutorials are videos. Some of them will be blog posts, but whether it's a video or a blog post, they'll all be well illustrated. And the patterns themselves will is. Then when this launches on September 15th, we'll have another launch party. So you're all welcome back to that. We'll be showing you a lot more details, a lot more photography associated with the 3 designs. We'll be telling you a lot more about those designs. Today was just a sneak peek at those, but we'll have more to show you then. Now we do have a few events coming up here. As a summary, that launch party I just mentioned for Make on the 15th of September. And then in November, the knit along for the warm and easy hat in the Make yarns. And then in January, we have the knit along for that Capricorn cowl, which is in our Tundra yarn, which would be a terrific gift for yourself, for others, or for you to tell others to get for you. And that's what's coming up on the horizon event-wise. The fun part. Oh, we've made it. We have a couple of minutes to spare here. Thank goodness. I am going to start a poll. It will ask a question. How many Make prizes have you seen? And we will get these answers. Okay, let me launch the poll. Here we go. You should all see a little window pop up now in your presentation that says, count the balls of yarn. How many balls did you count? Please get your answers in as soon as possible. And we'll let this run for another minute. Oops. Okay, I think I see them all stop now. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. I'm going to download the results. I can see that the spreadsheet has downloaded safely. Excellent. Very good. So we are going to take those results and go through them with a randomizer and choose 10 people, and the lucky ones will be notified via email. So hopefully there's going to be a surprise in your email box tomorrow. Give us a little bit of time to run this through the randomizer and send the emails out. We thank you so much for being here. We're always amazed to see so many people interested in what we're doing here at the Fibre Co. We're really interested in what you're doing too. So I hope you will share with us what you're doing. We hope you will share what you found of interest on today's Almanac presentation and what you think about the Make sub-range. And and the designs associated with that. We really can't wait to get your feedback. It's what feeds us and gives us ideas about how to move forward from here. So thank you so much for coming. Happy knitting to you, and good luck on winning the prize. Bye for now.